So we have heard about the vote of no confidence in the Garda Commissioner Drew Howes. Now, before we send the guests, we have to just announce the elephant in the room here. That crime in the last 5 years at most has gone through the roof. We have never seen anything like it in the Republic of Ireland since the foundation of the state. The amount of murders, the amount of rapes, it's exponential. And the amount of robberies and things. Crime in general, every aspect of crime in the state has gone up unbelievably amount. But I nearly would say it's more crime here than it is in some states in the United States of America. Because at the moment it's just lawlessness. People are being let out for murder and stuff like that. People are getting off on murder based in this country. And at the end of the day, the people who bear the responsibility of the crime, the overwhelming amount of crime and people getting off and being let off with a €30 fine for killing somebody or something like that. Because that's literally what's happening at the moment. They get slapped in the wrist and they go out and do it again and then they do it again. And then they're emboldened to do more and more violence and stuff like that. It's just a cycle. The cycle repeats and repeats and repeats. And you just have basically lawlessness at that stage. So the people who have to blame the responsibility is the Minister for Justice, Helen McAtee, first of all. And obviously the government in general. They have to bear the responsibility. Obviously they have a duty elected by the people to look after the citizens, to protect the citizens of the country that pay their taxes to the government, that they have a proper police force that's able to protect citizens so they can go around their day-to-day lives without fearing being killed on the street. Obviously that's not, at the moment people have no faith in Garda Síochána and have no faith in the government whatsoever, or Drew Howes or Helen McAtee, that they're able to protect people from walking the streets. Simple as that. The simple thing, to go to work, to go to the shop, people feel endangered even going to the shop in Ireland in 2023. Would you believe that? In Dublin, people are afraid to walk the main street in Dublin, O'Connor Street, the main street where people fought and died for independence. That people are terrified to go down in the night. Even during the day they're terrified of being mugged or pickpocketed or God knows what. And this is in the main street in the capital city of Ireland, just to say. And as I say, the main people who hold the bare responsibility is Drew Howes and Helen McAtee. Now, superintendents and sergeants have voted 99.1% nearly that Drew Howes should be given the boot and told to feck off. And I kind of agree with that. I don't think Drew Howes should have been in his place anyway. Obviously, he wasn't really in Garda, he was ended up in the PSNI. I do think we should have probably got somebody who was in Garda Síochána and promoted them to commissioner instead of getting somebody from outside the state. I do believe that we should have done that. It was enough. I'm sure there's one or two good gals we could have got as a commissioner, but I don't know would they made if any difference if instead of Drew Howes there was another gal put in their place or another commissioner put in their place. But it has to be said now, Drew Howes needs to be gone. There needs to be new leadership in Garda Síochána. There needs to be somebody there that is very, very tough on crime, that is no nonsense, that is just pure determination to, first of all, make sure Garda Síochána have the resources and obviously have the pay and conditions and things. Obviously, being a Garda, it isn't easy work, let's be fair. There's loads of young Gards. I've known 2-3 cases here where there's been serious accidents on the roads, and they've and young Gardaí who only had it happen more a few weeks or a few months have to come across things that would honestly hurt you for the rest of your life. Scenes on the roads and accidents and crashes and stuff like that. Like, you could not leave it at your door when you go home in the evening. And I think you and me would agree, if we were in their situation, we couldn't believe if there was somebody decapitated on the road because of an accident, God forbid, or even a murder and things like that what happened in Sligo a few years ago at this stage. Last year, I think it was, what happened inside the beheadings. Like, imagine the guard having to find that. You simply could not get that out of your mind for the rest of your life. So it's the psychology effect too. We need to try and make sure that every resource is given to help members of the Garda Síochána with dealing with that, obviously. And obviously paying conditions, of course, too. That's a big thing too. And obviously make sure that we have fully staffed Garda stations with the right amount of Gardaí. At the moment, Gardaí are working long hours and things like that. And there should be the right number of guards instead of 1 or 2 guards doing overtime and extra hours and stuff like that, wearing themselves into the ground. Like, it needs to be a lot of change, and obviously a few Gardaí need to go with the superintendents and stuff that are corrupt and that don't have the interests of the public at heart. they need to be given the boot and probably not given a pension. But again, it needs to be all seen to. Again, there needs to be just a complete reshuffling of a Garda Síochána. It's just completely needs to be done. It needs to be done. And obviously Helen McAtee shouldn't be there. If she, let's call it a spade a spade, she shouldn't be there. She has proven time and time again she's incompetent. It's simple as that, incompetent. Maybe she's doing her best, who knows, but she's incompetent. And we see at the moment she's going around talking about hate speech and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, I know you shouldn't be going out to incite hate online or something like that, but again, people entitled to their opinion. The way the government are going on about the hate speech bill is to shut people up if they have a different opinion towards the government, like I'm doing here now. That I'm calling out the Minister for Justice, calling out the Garda Commissioner for policies they implemented and stuff like that, and what they should have done instead of kind of just sitting down and letting it happen and then blaming far right or whatever. But we have to call a spade a spade. Helen McAtee doesn't have her priorities where it needs to be. You think she'd be like, we have to get control of the street so people feel safe walking down the street to go to the local shop, instead of worrying about if somebody misgendered somebody online. What are we going to do? We have to lock them up for 10 years if they misgender somebody. We're going to send the whole police force out to get them. And that's literally what they want to do. We have to be honest. If you misgender somebody, if you call somebody, if you don't go forward to their pronouns, you get locked up for the rest of your life. Literally what's going to happen. If they got away with it. If they get away with it, which they most likely will. We have to be honest with it. Because they're more worried about enforcing them. And they're more worried about being woke on the Minister for Justice and Garda Síochána, the higher ups and Garda Síochána in general, that they're forgetting what their main purpose is: to protect the public, to make sure people can walk the streets, go to work, etc., etc., run businesses, etc., etc., etc. And we need to, I mean, as I say earlier on, it just needs to be the total refunctionation, and somebody that's somebody that we can get in as Minister for Justice. Now the government has about 2 more years into the next general election. So, until that time, Helen McAtee should resign and somebody else should take her place. Preferably somebody that's a lot tougher on crime, that's no nonsense whatsoever. And it's just like, we're going to deal with these people who are causing trouble, and that's going to be the end of it. Somebody that's very tough, that somebody wouldn't mess with. We do need somebody. So they need to find somebody that has guts and determination. Instead of just, what's the go woke, let's put it that way. But as I say, I could go on for hours and hours and hours talking about different things in relation to crime and law enforcement in general. And obviously too, just to mention too, body cameras are supposed to be brought in next year. I know some people have been afraid about security and privacy and stuff like that. And I understand where, and particularly facial recognition software. We've seen how it's been used in China. It can be misused. We have to call a spade here, and say it can be misused by the wrong person. But when in the right hands, it can be used as a public asset to make sure people are safe and to have evidence. Say, for example, God forbid, if a crime did happen in front of a guard, right? They have the evidence, and I know for having a body camera on that, I won't misuse it. Like, say if I was a guard, I have it on day to day on the roads and things like that, because you come across different things, mainly people, lower offences and stuff like that. But it's important for a modern police force to have some kind of body camera to record what's happening in front of you. Even Garda misconduct and stuff like that, if they do something wrong, that is there on the body camera, even though it can be wiped and stuff like that, but there's different ways of walking around that, I suppose. But yeah, again, we all kind of have to, I suppose we all have to try and think about who we're going to vote for in the next election, let's put it that way, in terms of keeping people safe, because in the next, God knows, the next 5 years, there'll literally be no ghost zones in this country. Where you could not walk the streets day or night. And that's what's happened. We see this in the moment. Many, as I say, I could go on for hours about all the causes of it. Like, I'd be here until next Christmas talking about it. So, that's all I'm going to say. But as I say, Drew Howard should be gone. It's simple as that. It's simple as that. People overwhelmingly vote him out. If the only guard had the vote in the morning, take for example, if the superintendents and the sergeants, people who are higher up, Garda Síochána, say they want him out, the only guard on the street is not really going to have a much higher opinion of him, or even the only Joe on the street. the only citizen is not going to have much of opinion if the superintendents or the sergeants say overwhelmingly they don't have confidence in them. And that's the first time it's happened in the history of the state, just to say. So that doesn't look good, let's put it that way. But we can only hope and pray that things will improve. But again, there needs to be change. Thank you.